It is a land forged on the wild frontier between the old and new world, built upon a destiny of freedom and self-determination. Sitting on the westernmost edge of Europe, its lyrical green valleys bordered by soaring coastal cliffsides. It's a small island, but with a large influence, thanks to millions of immigrants who brought their traditions with them across the globe. And while the culture may feel familiar, if you dig past the surface, there's a brave new and old world, an emerald isle with scholars and saints, poets and politicians, stories and those who sing them. Two countries on one island, intertwined in history, mythology, and hope. This is what I came for, a rich land where every step reveals a new surprise, often hiding in plain sight. I'm Peter Greenberg, and this is Hidden Ireland. There's an enduring beauty of Ireland's stories. They are both true and then full of colorful myths. And those stories don't just power the present, they give life to the past. This country was settled relatively recently compared to other parts of Europe, just 10,000 years ago. Over the ensuing millennia, the arrival of different societies would shape its identity. Celtic tribes, Catholic missionaries, Viking settlers, and finally, the Norman invasion, bringing Ireland under the rule of Great Britain. This led to hundreds of years of unrest and outright rebellion, compounded by the Great Irish Potato Famine in the mid-1800s. In 1919, the violence against English rule exploded into a full-on Irish War of Independence, leading to the creation of two separate countries, the Independent Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. But now, with the battles ended, Ireland enjoys a peaceful present, marked by a growing population determined to secure a brighter future. And my journey, as with many travelers, begins in Dublin, the capital of the Republic of Ireland.
In Dublin's fair city, where the girls are so pretty, I first set my eyes on sweet Molly Malone.
As the old song goes, Dublin is a delightfully fair city and eminently walkable. It's also eminently drinkable. You won't go thirsty here. There are over 1,000 pubs scattered throughout the city, so you're never far from a place to bend your elbow and meet a new friend. In Dublin, the old and new coincide. Tech companies that flooded into the city in the 21st century, sitting not far from the libraries that preserve the works of legendary authors and poets, earning Dublin the title of UNESCO City of Literature. While Dublin is a modestly sized capital city, with a population of roughly 500,000, on certain days, you wouldn't know it, 1/5 of Dublin's residents can be found here.
Peter, welcome to Croke Park. The capacity of this stadium is 82,300 people.
And you fill it?
We'll fill this absolutely full to the gills. But what most people miss is what's up there.
Jerry McGarry is a former athlete who now works at Croke Park, the home of the Gaelic Athletic Association and its traditional Irish sports. Croke Park is actually a neutral stadium, meaning there's no home team. All teams play here as equals. There's been a stadium here since the late 1800s, and in 1920, it was the site of the Bloody Sunday Massacre during the War for Independence. In the 90s, a 12-year renovation project began to create the Croke Park of today.
Okay, Peter, we're nearly there.
That's what you said half an hour ago.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit more to go. The worst part is over. There we have it.
Wow.
This is the most magnificent view of Dublin City you're going to get. One thing you'll notice about here, Peter, there's actually no skyline in Dublin, no high-rise buildings. Because of that, for us, We can see all the way from the mountains all the way over to the sea.
Amazing.
The lack of skyscrapers is due to strict height regulations in Dublin. And while taller buildings have started to creep in, the centuries-old cityscape remains.
Well, it was worth the climb.
From this vantage point, you can see the past, present, and future of Dublin.
So they get to play out there. We get to look at this.
No, you get to play too.
Play what?
This is hurling, practically unknown outside of Ireland. But along with Gaelic football, it's the heartbeat of Croke Park. Teams of 15 sparring to score through their opponents' goalposts.
Hurling goes back in Ireland to mythological times, about 2,000 years. If you're a very, very good hurler, they thought that that was very, very good training to be a knight and to be a warrior back in those days, and it is still the game of warriors.
And a game of volunteers. That's right, no one gets paid. Everyone is playing just for the pride of their communities.
Hey, guys.
How you doing?
Today I'm getting a crash course in hurling from Dublin players Dara and Connor. And we're starting with the basics.
So, this is called,
It's called a hurl. We call it a hurl.
it's a hurl.
A hurl, yeah.
All right, let me guess. This is not a ball,
No, they call that a slitter.
a slitter.
Yeah, it's Irish.
Irish.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got to hit the slitter with the hurl.
That's the
deal?
idea, yeah, that's the
Starting to
idea.
get it now.
All right,
Yeah.
shall we try this?
Perfect.
I
All
got
right,
it.
you go out there.
All right.
Okay. That was weak. Hold on, I want to try one.
Do you want to give it a go?
All right.
You're not going for a home run, right?
Of course I'm going for a home run.
Maybe if you shorten the grip a little bit, you might have a bit more control.
Okay, but then hold with two hands.
Hold with two hands like that, yeah.
I'll try it again.
Go for it again, go for it again.
Oh, that was pathetic.
If at first you don't succeed, bat again.
Oh. I got noise. All right, this one's going over your head. All right, that was great.
It's pretty good, it's pretty good. In the real game, you have about 15 players trying to kill you for that ball.
For this.
Yeah, you're free to do whatever you want in the game. It's a war.
Yeah, you're on your own.
But to truly understand Ireland, you need to go northwest from Dublin, starting about 30 miles away, to County Meath in Ireland's ancient east, which was once the home of the High King of Ireland. And with kings come castles.
Castles are built for a number of reasons. One is to say, I'm here, and the other is to make sure that you stay here. You don't build castles in friendly environments.
David Gilroy grew up by the most intact castle in all of Ireland, Trim Castle.
Everywhere I've ever been in Ireland, it's castles followed by castles followed by castles. How many are there?
Well, some say there's up to 30,000 castles in Ireland.
30,000.
30,000. A lot of those will be ruins, obviously, but they look...
But this is a real castle.
This is the real castle. So this is the largest Anglo-Norman castle in Ireland. It was built in the 12th century.
With a location chosen deliberately along this important lifeblood of Ireland.
We're standing on the banks of the River Boyne. Since the start of global civilization 10,000 years ago, this river has flown along here. You look to that river, you look to that castle, you're not just looking at stones and water, you're looking at the lives of men and women.
And over 100,000 people come to Trim Castle every year to imagine those lives. But if you know a guy who knows a guy, then maybe you get a chance to see it from a different perspective.
You've seen Trim Castle from the ground.
I have.
And today we're going to take a different bird's eye view, going to bring you flying
In this.
in this.
On most days, you'll find Shay Party in the left seat of this Airbus 320, flying at 30,000 feet as a veteran pilot for Ireland's flag carrier Aer Lingus. But today, he's piloting at a lower altitude, giving me a completely different look of the Boyne Valley.
There it is. See, just coming up as you see Trim Castle. Yeah. And as you can see here, it holds a very prominent, doesn't it, position. I mean, it's hard to imagine we're flying over something that was started in the 12th century.
I mean, think of the architecture, the design, the construction.
The physical construction.
They were cutting edge.
It's a whole different perspective from the air, not just in terms of the view, but in terms of the real history.
You see the circular field with the sheep?
Yeah.
So that is the Hill of Ward. That's where Halloween started.
Right
so
there.
The Druids used to have a festival. It was called Samhain.
On this hill, evidence shows that the Druids set light to a large bonfire, and the Feast of Halloween was born.
What happens there during Halloween now?
Really, not much. It's because now, as you can see, it's active farmland.
Yeah. So what you're telling me is the ghosts come out at night.
The ghosts come out at night.
Okay,
absolutely.
just double checking.
Do you see the mound on the hill? That is the famous Newgrange, UNESCO World Heritage Site. 1,000 years older than the pyramids.
This monument, built in 3200 BC, was designed so that one day a year, on the winter solstice, the sun would shine perfectly through into a chamber.
I mean, it's one thing to see it from the ground. It's another thing to get up here and then tell that story.
Yes.
And the one thing that comes into view from above, apart from Ireland's ancient east, and almost down into Ireland's hidden heartlands, in fact, it's the entire view, is that you're surrounded by green.
Well, if you ever wondered how Ireland got the name the Emerald Isle, just look out the window.
You look out the window, absolutely.
I continued heading north, and as you cross over the invisible border between countries, the majesty remains unbroken. Northern Ireland is just 1/5 the size of the Republic, but it is no less full of wonder. Volcanic fissures birthed these pillars of the Giant's Causeway, inspiring legends of its construction by a mythological giant. A swaying rope bridge draws adventurers looking to take an exhilarating stroll. And if you didn't know better, you might think this is a Photoshop brochure. But what you see is really what's here. The scenery often radiates images bordering on unspoiled beauty. Northern Ireland did have challenging times during what was known as the Troubles, which began in the late 1960s and continued through until the 90s. At the heart of the matter, on one side, the mostly Protestant Unionists who aimed to keep Northern Ireland within the United Kingdom. On the other, mostly Catholic nationalists who wanted the country to rejoin with the Republic. Today in Northern Ireland, the streets are peaceful, but there are signs of remembrance. In the capital city of Belfast, these peace walls were built during the Troubles to separate the Catholic and Protestant communities. Now, they've become a canvas to honor a dark history, as well as a sign of hope for a fully reconciled future. Belfast has moved beyond the Troubles. It has a thriving city center, and the popular Titanic Museum highlights its history as a manufacturing town. And in addition, Belfast has earned the title of UNESCO City of Music because of a diverse performance scene that reckons with the city's turbulent past, but also offers a path forward.
I feel that music has helped to bring people together after a really difficult period of time. There's a kind of generational trauma that we're dealing with, and so creativity is a large part of healing in that.
It's sort of a unifying factor now.
And that's, I guess, why I'm still here.
Miles McCormick has lived here all his life and has become one of the city's most prominent performers.
Music has always been a big part of at least my life here in Belfast. Whenever I first got involved, I felt like I'd just fallen into a little family where I could meet someone who I'd never met before, but we had a common language.
Miles started out playing rock as a teenager, then expanded his skills into traditional Irish music. Like Miles, the music of Belfast keeps evolving.
The music scene in Belfast is always changing. When I was a teenager, all the gigs that I saw were metal bands. Now there's pop, there's rock, there's traditional music in every bar.
A strong music scene requires supporting new voices, and a driving force for that is the Oh Yeah Music Center, a nonprofit organization that provides resources for up-and-coming musicians to rehearse, record, and perform, including the rooftop, where some artists say they can draw inspiration from the spirit of the city.
We've slowly grown into the comfort zone.
One of the strong parts of reconciliation in Belfast was the music. It brought people together. It gave people hope. And for musicians like Miles, it gave them a future, not to mention an inspiration for his music.
Clusters of weeds creeping over the metronome.
Wow. Lovely. Comfort zone.
Yeah.
This is a comfort zone.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at an electric piano here.
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
We're going to do something.
All right, give me a key.
I would say G to keep it simple.
Okay, you start.
I know it's been a while since you got a lion. I see you looking down, I'm still crying. So take my tiny hands and hold them in your giant ones so I can feel part of this giant world.
If you look into the history of Irish music, it actually defined each era, whether it was the famine, Civil War, reconciliation, and ultimately, freedom. And I was lucky to play a small part in Belfast music.
We could be flying, part of this tiny world.
All right, man. I'm a two-chord wonder.
I mean, we both are, I think.
The music of Belfast is just the appetizer to the rest of Northern Ireland. An hour west of the city, you couldn't find a more striking difference in tone at the tranquil shores of Lough Neagh.
It's almost a shame that more people don't know about it. I mean, this is the largest lake in Ireland. This place is my whole being. My ancestry have all operated from the shoreline. 7 generations that I have traced back. Sure, everyone owns a farm.
Yeah, I do.
Gary McErlean and his wife Anne-Marie uphold the family tradition of fishing on Lough Neagh. And for them, it goes far beyond being just a job.
Something that's ingrained in fishermen in Lough Neagh. We need to be fishing. This is our lives. It's not a case of me simply doing this for a living. This is something that's in me. You couldn't drag it out of me.
Archaeologists have found evidence of people fishing this lake as far back as 9,000 years. And now, it was my turn.
Good day for fishing.
Now, I've caught many fish in my life, but today, we're going after something else.
This is drafting for eels in Lough Neagh.
We're going for eel.
Eel fishing, yep.
That's right, eel fishing. Lough Neagh is full of them. You've probably heard the legend of how St. Patrick drove the snakes out of Ireland. But did you know the rest of the myth? Where did the snakes go? They were driven into this lake, where they miraculously became eels.
No, I'm going to throw this all out into the water.
Okay.
Gary tosses out a marker to guide the nets.
Which means basically it's drawn across the bottom. Eels are our bottom feeders, so it's to the bottom we have to go to find them.
So the net will go to the bottom?
It'll go to the bottom, yep. This method hasn't really changed over the past hundreds of years. It's a very ancient method of fishing here in Lough Neagh.
It's a simple but effective method that he has perfected over a lifetime.
How long have you been doing this?
When I was 14, I was out here at 4 o'clock in the morning and then catching the school bus at 8 to go to school.
So you were fishing at 4 in the morning,
Yep.
catching the school bus at 8?
Absolutely.
Oh my God. The nets are coming up.
Oh, there we are now. Come here, Amri. Here, you take this.
I got this?
Put this over here.
If you're on the boat, you do more than just pitch in. because you're reminding Gary of the treasure that is Lough Neagh.
We're so used to it, we take it for granted. And then whenever good folk like yourself come down here and see it, you're in awe at the beauty. What's that, Peter? Lough Neagh eel?
Oh, these are eels. How many we got?
Probably have about 25 or 30.
Not bad for a morning.
That's good, that's good. If we had that every draft, we're going to happy.
Now that I've gotten a taste for eel fishing, it's time to get a real taste for eel.
So, Peter, I'm going to cut this into bite-sized portions.
You're calling that bite size?
Well, we're out there a wee while. I thought you'd been hungry.
Okay, I'm hungry. Big bites.
So, we'll get these on. You'll notice I'm not using oil.
But as the eel starts to cook, suddenly there's oil.
Boy, that's a lot of oil.
It is a lot of oil.
But that comes right from the eel.
It's natural.
You can't get fresher than this. This is lake to table.
Okay, I'm gonna taste this right now. Oh, wow. That's good. I can eat this all day.
Our eels, without question, are a special delicacy. And the reason is the high oil count within the eel. And the lovely juicy.
It's great.
These eels are still in demand throughout Europe, but Lough Neagh and its eels actually mean something more to the people of Ireland.
If you go back to the time of serious hunger in Ireland during the time of the famine, it fed us. So it has been a crucial stretch of water, been there for us before, and it'll be there for us again.
It was time to leave Lough Neagh and head a short 20 miles west until the road narrowed and finally disappeared as I arrived here at this mystical setting.
This is a very ancient landscape that we have here with the 7 circles. It's 5,000 years old. We don't know who lived here.
The Beagmore stone circles were uncovered in the 1940s. While the answer to who built the circles may be lost to the past, there is evidence that this was a burial site. It's a mini Stonehenge, complete with stories of mythical proportions, as well as the Irish who still worship the gods. A site full of ritual and awe.
The 7 circles. They're as important to us as the rhymes that we say and the songs that we sing.
This is Dara Vallely, the leader of the Armagh Rhymers, a band of traveling folk performers from the nearby town of, you guessed it, Armagh.
Long before television was invented and had everybody charmed in a corner, sitting on a sofa, the Rhymers went from house to house, entertaining their neighbours, their friends. So you could imagine a dark winter's night, and we would approach the house, and as a captain of the play, I would say, "Open the door and let me in. We hope your favour, we shall win." And if there's any children in the house, they would hide under the table. I remember doing that.
Scared.
Oh, they were scared stiff.
As I was going to Lisbon,
And I can kind of see why. These frightening yet curious masks, made of straw, represent characters from Celtic mythology.
Okay, so that's when you come to the house. But what about here?
Well, come over here and I'll show you.
Okay.
The Rhymers come here, like their ancestors did for centuries, to commemorate life cycles and the changing of the seasons. But the only way to truly understand is to join in.
Put that on.
Okay.
And there you are. And join the circle now.
I was given the mask of Lugh, the all-seeing Celtic sun god. A pretty big role for my first Rhymer performance. It's one thing to be a spectator, but before I knew it, it was forced audience participation.
How am I doing?
Swing your arms, shoulders back, head up, chin in, bellies out. And close your left eye. We have stories, we have music, we have dancing. The folklore and the ritual has been passed down to us. We feel that we are the keepers of the tradition. You are no longer a guest. You are one of us. Put it there.
I'm a Rhymer?
You are a Rhymer today.
The Beagmore circles are just one stop for the Rhymers as they carry this performance tradition throughout the country. And my journey has to continue as well.
I am a rambling Irishman.
Exploring an entire country is a daunting task, but Ireland lays out a path for you, the Wild Atlantic Way. It kicks off in dear Old Donegal in the Republic of Ireland, weaving between the crashing waves of the coast and the mountainous countryside. The Wild Atlantic Way guides you through villages frozen in time and along expansive vistas that have inspired generations of artists and poets. At over 1,500 miles, it's the longest uninterrupted coastal driving route in the world. And if you head just east, the hills are dotted with a certain population. And in the village of Clonbur, the sheep outnumber the humans.
The main type of farming here in this part of the country is sheep farming. All our life is based around hill sheep farmings.
If you want a closer look, the locals will point you to Joe Joyce, a third-generation sheep farmer, but he doesn't do it alone.
As you can see, the terrain around here is very difficult to walk on. So for us to collect sheep off the mountains there, you need good dogs. The well-trained sheepdog is a must for any sheep farmer. There's no other animal, no other machine can replace the sheepdog for us here on the mountains.
Now, who's this?
This is Spot. This is my old guy.
You have a dog called Spot?
Yeah. So what I'm going to do here now with Spot, I have a bunch of sheep up at the end of the field here in the distance. We're going to send Spot up to fetch
They're way
them
up.
Yeah, we're going to send Spot up there to fetch them down.
Spot, you ready?
Hey, buddy.
And without hesitation, Spot goes to work.
And you can see how steep the ground is. So the fact that the dog goes up there rather than me having to go is much better.
You figured that out, huh?
Oh, yeah, we got that long. As soon as the sheep see him coming, see, they react. See how good his hearing is. Watch this.
Yeah.
Walk on. Walk on. See? You can hear that from here.
Wow. Now, if only more people were this obedient.
Stay, stay, stand, stand, stand. He'll do the same thing with over 100 sheep on the mountain he done with them 6 sheep.
So basically what you're saying is this is sheep traffic control.
Big time.
And if you're going to be a shepherd, you have to dress the part.
The traditional spec cap is what the Irish farmers wear here in the west of Ireland.
And I can see you got my size.
Well, we'll work on that another day. And now we're going to see if we can get Spot to go for you. To go left is come by. To go right, away. To stop will be stand. To walk means walk on wherever they're positioned.
Okay. With Spot at the ready, it was time to try out my sheep herding commands.
Away, away, away.
See, he goes out to the right.
Oh, yeah.
Now, come by.
Come by.
Come by.
Oh, wow.
Okay, come by again.
Come by, come by.
So we drive them back. So, say come by again now.
Come by. Ooh,
there you are.
That was good.
So now he's got to know your voice. It took him a few commands.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, here they come again.
Just stand.
Stand. Ooh, there they come.
I had never herded sheep before, but it was a fun moment of delusion, thinking I could actually control the animals, when in fact, I had very little to do with it. It was all about the dog.
Okay, I have another command.
Yeah.
You ready? Lamb chops. Oh, the dinner.
It works. I'm also very proud that I'm still here working on the land because our forefathers have fought and died to get possession of their own land in this country. So I'm just proud that I'm still here as a sheep farmer and that's where I want to stay.
Hello, goodbye.
And just over these hills is a world unto its own. I told you Ireland has castles, but nothing compares to Ashford Castle. It's a very special place that brings with it over 800 years of history. Formerly the home of the Guinness family, it's now a hotel. But it's more than a hotel. It is in itself a way of life. How's this for an arrival? It's just the beginning indication of what to expect at Ashford. Anything you want to do, you can do it, and in style. From horseback riding to zip lining, archery, clay shooting, even falconry. And they offer one more experience. But first, you need to know to ask for it. And if you do, the folks at Ashford will send you down this unmarked road. But you won't get lost. Just listen for the music.
They say the harp chooses its victims and tortures it for life. I heard the harp when I was 10 and I was captivated. I just had to make that noise.
Accomplished harpist Paul Dooley has been playing all his life. And when you come here, you don't just listen to the music. You go into the workshop where you help make the instruments.
This is the iconic Irish harp. It probably goes back to 1,000 years ago or thereabouts in Ireland anyway, at least.
We're starting on the sound box, where the tone and volume are generated, which is made from one solid piece of a willow tree.
Right, you've used the plane before?
Yeah, in high school.
Okay.
Okay.
So start there and find the bumps first. Like you see there's a little bit of bump there. Take them out. And it's fairly straight now, but... So,
okay.
One. And then now you put your back into it, as they say.
Yeah, I'm putting my back into it.
All right. Okay. I make harps because when I began playing the harp, I couldn't afford to buy one. So I just began making them. Oh, that's good now. Looking good.
Yeah, it's getting smoother.
The harp has been associated with Ireland from as far back as the 12th century. Travellers to Ireland commented on how fabulous the musicians here were. And then it became the emblem of Ireland around maybe the 15th, 16th centuries.
And today, the harp can be seen on government documents, on beer labels. It's even reflected in the famed Samuel Beckett Bridge in Dublin.
So how long does it take to finish a complete harp?
A complete harp like that one, about 6 weeks maybe.
6 weeks?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is I'm staying for dinner?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's not all woodworking. I then got to play the instrument.
What it is just the white notes of the piano, without the keys. You are the keys. Do you want to try a little bit of a tune? That was fantastic for a first try, but it's all wrong.
I'm sure it's all
As
wrong.
you know, you can't play the piano with just your thumb, yeah?
That's true.
So it's the same with this. You have to put all the fingers on.
It is a music that, if you let it, it transports you, not to a different destination, but to a different time, and allows you to immerse, to appreciate the hopes, the loss, and the dreams of a nation.
A genius.
Back on the road, 2 hours south, I made a must-see stop at the Cliffs of Moher in County Clare. In fact, some might say, for most tourists, it's unavoidable. The massive sheer walls run for 8 miles, plunging over 700 feet into the ocean below. This is the #1 tourist attraction in Ireland. And you can tell. And you can also count. On the morning I arrived, I spotted 50 large tour buses. For me, not the way to have a special moment in such a breathtaking, dramatic location. But if you know the right person to ask, you'll get a very different view.
As they say around here, from the top, you see the water, you see the sea. But when you come out on a boat like this, you see the cliffs in their true glory.
As a young man, Eugene Garahy made a living as a fisherman in these waters. But now he runs Cliffs of Moher cruises to share his ocean vantage point.
People viewing the cliffs from this angle really get immersed in the beauty of the cliffs. It's a completely different perspective.
Through the ages, the cliffs have inspired legends of mermaids, Celtic deities, and a lost sunken city. And people have been coming here for more than 200 years.
Peter, this is a mystical place. Right back to 1835, when Cornelius O'Brien recognized the beauty of the place and built this castle as a tourist attraction
So before the tour buses, there were tourists?
No, well, you had tour buses, but you don't see tour buses at the bottom like this.
No. But the cliffs have a more vital role.
The most important aspect of this area is that it's a UNESCO Geopark. That is the protection of the wildlife and the birds in this area. It's the biggest bird sanctuary on the mainland of Ireland. We have 40,000 nesting birds, and you can really only see them from the water.
So we're in the right place.
We're in the right place, Peter. Right under the castle, we have Unbrunnon Moor. It's a major sea stack and a bird colony. The erosion has cut away the stone between the sea stack and the cliffs. And it's a sanctuary for 5 or 6 different species of birds. And you'll see the birds have a different hierarchy. So at the top is the cleanest place to live. So if you're unlucky enough to be at the bottom, you get all the shit on top of your head. So the clever birds are at the top.
It's like life itself.
Life itself, Peter, yeah. Exactly, you nailed it.
You can see the geologic history with your own eyes. Layers of sandstone, siltstone, and shale deposited more than 320 million years ago. And as I learned, the magnitude of these cliffs can resonate deep within a person's emotions, both in highs and lows.
It has a deep contradiction for different people in life. It's a really, really romantic place to visit like we're doing this morning, but it also has tragedy. But sadly, there's a lot of people that decide to end their lives at Cliffs of Moher. And as well as to match that, people get married every year at the top of the Cliffs of Moher, and they have all those romantic photographs. Also, people like to shake their ashes here at the bottom of the Cliffs of Moher.
So what you're talking about here is the entire cycle of life.
The entire cycle of life, yeah. And I might sound a bit emotional, but it does that to you.
And whether viewed from the water or from the land, the cliffs offer their own powerful perspective.
I suppose looking at the majestic cliffs here, I suppose it just tells us how small we are in the world and how instant we are. We're here and we're gone, but these cliffs go on for millions and millions and millions of years, so we can protect it. For the future generations, I think we leave them a nice legacy and not do too much damage along the way.
I hear you.
Heading south on the Wild Atlantic Way, I passed what looks like endless farmland. And 30 minutes west of the city of Limerick, there's a place that will immerse you in traditional Irish life, hard work, and the threatened world of the family farm.
The family farm was the mainstay of life in Ireland, and especially small farms, such as Rigney's farm here.
Rigney's farm is a rare breed. Caroline and Joe Rigney started it as a working farm, and now to make ends meet, it's also a working bed and breakfast. But you don't just get a view of the farm. If you're staying here, you're working here.
You hear that noise?
Yeah.
They're really hungry. They want their dinner. Feeding them is allowing the guests to see the pigs in a very near to natural environment.
They didn't waste any time. Who's hungry? Who's hungry? I got most of it. They got quiet real fast.
Didn't they just?
But feeding pigs was only part of my marching orders.
Can't be in Ireland without talking about potatoes. We're going planting them. That is a seed potato. You could have eaten it or kept it for seed. I'll make a hole.
Okay.
And you just drop a potato into it.
That's it?
That's it.
Boom.
Simple as that. And in about 3 months, you can be eating beautiful Irish potatoes. Generations back, the potato was the main food source for the Irish people.
Potatoes were so central to the Irish diet that the famines of the mid-1800s resulted in 1 million deaths and another 1 million people fleeing the country. It puts into harsh perspective how fragile and how vital farming is.
You've got a really important job to do here. Hen has left us a couple of eggs. There you go.
Got it.
And then down here is a trickier one.
Because the hen's in there, and she's laid an egg.
And you're going to take it out. And she doesn't want to go out.
Ah! I'm glad you're wearing gloves.
Good plan. I will help you. She's just a little aggressive.
Really?
Just a little.
Okay.
Oh, sweetie.
Look at that.
You don't get any fresher than that.
The final task is not something that most people think of as farm work.
This wall has been here for about 150 years. In the condition it's in now, it's repair time to bring it back to as it was.
These simple stone walls have been the traditional way to mark the borders of farms in Ireland for hundreds of years. But someone's got to build them, and it's all got to be done by hand.
That one there, that piece looking out.
You've got this figured out like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. Practically all the stones have a job.
But many of the folks who come to Rigneys are almost compelled to help rebuild that wall.
It probably would stem back to their own family history as well of where they came from. To see maybe some of them would have Irish roots, and it would go back as far as before the wall was built, and it all stems on from that, and they can see how it's done and partake in how it's done.
I don't know about any Irish roots, but even helping with a few stones on that wall made me feel closer to Irish history. For me, when it comes to Ireland, my favorite direction has always been southwest, as far as I can go, to Portmagee.
Portmagee, you're my treasure, you're a gem beyond measure, your magic will ever endure.
Named after an 18th century smuggler, Portmagee is the quintessential small fishing village, the perfect place to find a pub at the end of the day. And you never know what's waiting for you behind the door.
A typical session is spontaneous. It's not organized. People just gather together and they sing together, they dance together, they play together, they socialize together in all ages from 5 years old up to 80 years old.
Gerard Kennedy is the owner at Moorings Restaurant and Pub. And these music sessions aren't just a way to blow off steam. They're a way to keep traditions alive.
It's all about passing it down. These are songs that are there for hundreds of years and tunes that were written hundreds of years ago. So they're being passed down from one generation to the next.
If you're at a session, you won't just be sipping a pint and watching. You're gonna get involved. So don't be surprised when music literally gets handed down to you.
I'm going to show you how to play the bodhrán. You hold your, put your hand in here in the back, and you get that like a pencil. Up and down, up and down. Perfect, perfect.
Am I doing okay? You're doing okay.
And if you think you can just sit and learn, think again. This traditional dance is called Shoe the Donkey. Irish have been doing this two-hand dance as long as anyone can remember. I dance side by side with my partner, holding right hand in right hand, left in left. As you can see, talent and agility are not requirements, but spirit and passion are, and you better have plenty of that. As small and close-knit as Portmagee is, some of Ireland's communities are even more hidden, available only by ferry. They publish a schedule, but you aren't always bound by it. The locals often call ahead, and that's when you get to go to Cape Clear, 8 miles out. It was one of the last places immigrants saw as they headed west to America by ship. Some of them might have thought of it as the point of no return, when in fact, The island is a place, once you get to know it, you long to return. It's a place where everyone knows everybody else. And with 10 minutes of your arriving, everybody knows you.
At the moment, we have 100 people living on the island.
Only 100?
Only 100. Unfortunately, we're still suffering from the last Great Depression, by which I mean the Depression of 1929.
Wow.
And up until that point in time, this was an extremely prosperous island, and that's when the fishing industry declined on this island.
And so did the population.
And so did the population.
Seamus O'Driscoll is one of the few residents on Cape Clear, an island that feels like it comes from another time and place. It's only 3 square miles, and Gaelic is the primary language. There's only one small store, and everything comes in via boat. Even children take a boat to go to the mainland for school. On Cape Clear, you don't have the conveniences of the modern world at your fingertips. But in their place may be something much more meaningful.
It's an incredible place to live. It has a great sense of community, and it just has a wonderful quality of life.
Now, no police department?
No, no need for a police department.
Really?
I can tell you that we've gone on holidays on many occasions, and we leave the doors open so the postman can put the post on the table.
There's no fishing industry here anymore, but in the last couple of years, something strange has happened. Cape Clear is actually producing something. It's not agriculture, or high-tech, or even light manufacturing. They're actually making gin.
People have tried various types of industries on the island, but we know from our history that the things that worked most and worked best on this island were things based on the natural resources.
I knew the main ingredient would be a local plant, but I wasn't expecting it to be seaweed. And with so few people on the island, they're only too happy to ask for help.
It wasn't meant to be kelp at all. The original plan was to use some of the plants from the island. We tried hundreds and hundreds of plants, and we were making very fine gin, but we weren't making an exceptional gin. And that's when we started looking at the seashore.
And this is right in front of you all along?
It was right in front of us the whole time. This is actually very nice seaweed, and that brings the sweetness, a hint of saltiness, and the freshness of the sea to the gin. It's very, very good quality today. So this is going to make excellent gin.
I only work with high-quality kelp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once the kelp is trimmed, it's taken inside to dry.
So basically, we need to just spread it out on the racks like this, and in about 24 hours, this is going to be beautifully dried.
Once dried, the kelp pieces are broken apart and bagged, added to the pot, and distillation can begin.
Well, this is a kelp distillation, and we've been distilling since this morning.
The whole process takes about a week to turn kelp into gin, and then it's ready for bottling.
One more, here we go.
Keep them coming, Peter. Keep them coming. Sláinte.
Well, thank you very much.
That's smooth, isn't it?
Quite. Nicely done.
Very nicely done.
It's these quiet moments, like sharing a drink with a new friend, that show the real community of Cape Clear and why it's so worth preserving. It's almost inescapable that if you spend any amount of time in Ireland, you could begin to think like the Irish, you could begin to drink like the Irish, dance like the Irish. In fact, you might even believe you are Irish. And there's a good chance 1 in every 10 Americans have Irish ancestry. So you know what's next. I had to check out my roots. I returned to Dublin to look for answers at EPIC, the Irish Emigration Museum, dedicated to telling the story of those who fled Ireland during the Great Famine. Like every museum, they have a gift shop, which you know I usually avoid. But if you pass through here and find this door on the right, you can start to find your own history at the Irish and Family History Center.
So what do you need to know?
I need to know everything.
Dr. Patrick Roycroft is a genealogist, and he's accustomed to international travelers walking through his door.
The Irish have spread all over the world So people come here from South America, North America, Australia, Europe, everywhere, because they want to know their Irish ancestry. So, Peter Greenberg.
Right.
Now, who was your father?
He was Sidney Greenberg. Patrick got as much as he could from me, but the rest was up to him to discover. How far back can you go?
That depends. That totally depends on the records.
So he sent me on my way, and Patrick got to work.
You always start with the person themselves and work backwards. So I start with Peter, I get details on his parents and grandparents, and from then I see, okay, looking at the dates, who can I find on US censuses? From there, you can work to birth certificates, death certificates, marriage certificates, emigration, immigration, police records, you name it, we can find them.
And after a few days of digging, Patrick asked me to meet him, only this time, not at his office.
Welcome to the Jeannie Johnston, Peter.
Wow.
And this ship has a fascinating story to tell. The Jeannie Johnston, it represents the type of ship that 1 million people left Ireland from during the Great Famine. 1 million people had to emigrate or die because it is the only ship that didn't have any deaths on it while crossing the Atlantic from Ireland to America.
And now it's moored safely beside the Immigration Museum. How appropriate a place to finally discover if I was indeed Irish. And in the captain's quarters, all will be revealed.
Been doing a lot of research on your family tree. We have some very good news. You've got Yiddish, and you have Russian, and you have Ukrainian, and you have Latvian ancestors.
Wow.
The bad news is you have no Irish in you whatsoever, unfortunately. But on your mother's side was a guy called Elias Root Beadle. And he is the only member of your entire family who ever, apart from you, who's ever set foot in Ireland. He was a Presbyterian minister. He traveled very widely and internationally. So in 1878, he landed in Queenstown, which is modern-day Cove in County Cork. So he's the only person of your family who actually set foot in Ireland. But that's not the only Irish connection, because he also employed female servants from Ireland.
Of course he did.
And he was a very good boss to them. He was excellent.
Patrick found a lot of family trivia, but alas, no Irish.
That's it. Your green in your name is as close to Ireland as you get.
I'll take it.
Good man.
But as I discovered, I didn't need Irish roots to actually start to feel Irish. And with my time here drawing to a close, I decided to go for one last walk, wandering the streets of Dublin, maybe like a James Joyce character. But no deep thinking here. Instead, a reflection of what a remarkable journey I'd had. Almost overwhelmed with culture and history, I learned where ancient rituals were born.
So what you're telling me is the ghosts come out at night?
And where they are still practiced today. I tasted Ireland's natural abundance.
I can eat this all day.
And played a small part in rebuilding and preserving its history, and also helping a community to survive. From trying to master the national pastime,
all right,
to crafting its national symbol.
Genius.
I saw the country from a whole new perspective, and I explored an urban center where the percussion of old turmoil has been replaced with real music. And so, I took one last look on this well-traveled bridge above the river moving through the heart of Dublin, flowing from Ireland's past into its future, carrying the soul of a people and a land on the precipice of a never-ending dream, calling out to be discovered once again. This is Hidden Ireland.